Cool.
Welcome to the DeFi Standard. This is Patty XRP, and with me I have
Mickey B. Fresh.
Nice. So how we been doing, Mickey?
We're doing good. It was a great weekend. And on this past Friday, I joined Crypto Erie and 20 other voices from the community to talk about the Flair network. And that was a really, really great discussion to hear from different signal providers, hear from different projects building on the network like Gala Games, 888, and some others. So it was really fantastic. If you haven't seen that, check it out. It's on Crypto Eddie's channel. Thank you, Crypto Eddie, for hosting that and organizing that. So that's just the first of probably many that we'll do like that in the future. It was nice to see the community really come together and hear different voices. So that was one thing that was really different. I've never seen an event like that in the past ever.
No, yeah, absolutely. I hadn't ever seen that many people get together to talk about something in regards to either the XRP ledger or whatever blockchain you want to have it. So I enjoyed watching that. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it on. I had a really weird situation where it was pouring down rain and I was out and about. So I was like, this isn't gonna work for me today. But I did like
Next
how,
one.
yeah, exactly. I did like some of the focus from Flair Finance and I want to say it was King Solomon around making DeFi easier for your average everyday person to use. So that's really cool. And Mickey, it looks like also not to take it too far up track, but I did see Trustline just made a tweet about making some kind of risk management protocol to help with managing collateral on their platform. So that's another cool step in the right direction, and I love to see that the dApps that are already being built already have their eyes set on that is a major need for the DeFi space.
Nice. Can you bring that up? Is that possible?
Yeah. Let me find it real quick.
Bring that up because that's awesome. So let me just talk about this in the meantime now with Flair Finance and what Crypto Frenchie said, who is like the lead developer at Flair Finance and who's running the show there, has said that they're really trying to make the interface very user friendly and functionality very easy. And he said in the actual comments there that it was kind of a social experiment. So everyone who used beta, who was frustrated and had problems with it, that was their way of testing it. So they're able to then produce an interface that will be super easy to use. So I think that's important to understand that they went through that whole betas for a reason, so that when the final product is set out, that'll be easy for us to use. And he said it will be the next beta. So the final beta is still coming. That will be a one-click thing. You won't have any faucets to go to. There won't be any of that. It'll be just one click and you're on, and then you'll test the whole new interface. And that will probably be the final tweaking. And then the actual full interface will then come out once the network goes live. So it's important to understand that each decentralized application is going to have their own interface. So you have an API that will connect to that interface from your Web3 wallet. Say it be Bifrost, say it be MetaMask, say it be Decent. It'll connect then to that interface. So Trustline, Probity will have its own interface. Flair Finance, its own interface. Gala, its own interface.
Yeah, that is good points, and I'm getting this brought up right now, so took me a minute to find it.
Okay, no
Cool.
problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
oh,
So
cool.
everyone
Yeah,
knows
this is
here.
an older tweet that they replied to one of their other tweets, so I think it may have gone under the radar. But basically, they said we're working on adding a toolkit to help you manage your Probity Vault collateral without the stress. More on that soon. So yeah, that's
Nice.
it's kind of like one of the things that I would really like to see is like customization in like alerts and certain actions taken on your behalf that you can set beforehand. Like it'd be nice if I could say, okay, if my collateral ratio, is getting to this level, then I need to be notified immediately so that I can move more collateral in there to get myself back to an area where I feel safe and don't need to be paying a lot of attention. So
Yeah, I
hopefully,
wonder if it could just pull from your wallet. Like if you have extra Spark in there, right? Say you're just compounding more and more Spark, can it pull from your wallet just to cover your collateral ratio if you start getting low? Like say you have FXRP in the Probity Vault, and now the collateral ratio starts getting to like a warning level. Can it pull Spark like from your actual wallet account? That would be pretty cool
yeah, I'd be
somehow.
curious how they would do that. I mean, it would definitely have to use some kind of smart contract, but I feel like
Yeah.
there'd need to be a middle account where you could push stuff into,
Mm.
like maybe a check, like checking versus savings account. Like some stuff you
Yeah.
don't want touched at all, you could have this other account that basically says, okay, like if any of the DeFi platforms that I'm participating in, I need to provide more, collateral for any of them, that it can just draw from this account, whatever it needs, basically.
Yeah.
Or
That would
maybe
be.
or maybe you need like another asset. Like it'd be cool if you could just have it stored in whatever asset you want, and then it just will exchange it and then send it there. But I feel like that's a little farther down the road, something like that.
Yeah, but it's good that they're thinking about this because that's one of the issues that kind of MakerDAO had and other things when the volatility of the market affects the collateral, which is going to be things like FXRP and Spark, which are going to be kind of volatile for the next few years going forward. They're not going to be stable by any means. So we do have to prepare for that. Now, as price appreciates, it'll allow you to pull some of the collateral out because you won't need as much, or to lend or borrow against it with more RA. So there is the other side to that. If the price appreciates, you still get the price appreciation from the collateral that's in the Probity Vault. You do not suffer any type of impermanent loss or anything with using a Probity Vault. So everybody knows that.
Yeah. Cool. And then I saw Flair Communities jumped in. He said that he remembers they also mentioned a very easy tutorial slash guide when the
Yes.
platform launches for Flair Finance. So yeah, I feel like that would probably be likened to something you go through to like get approved for options trading and just make sure you understand all the mechanisms behind it, or at least some tutorial that is gonna like teach you what the platform does. And we'll be doing the same with some videos in the future once we can get our hands on the next beta.
Yeah, thank you, Flair community. I forgot about that. Yeah, there's going to be definitely tutorials going forward when they launch the Flair finance thing that you're going to have to go through. So once you receive like D Flair, you're going to have to convert it to Y Flair. So once you do that, in between there's going to be tutorial videos from Flair Finance. I'm sure there's going to be some kind of API license agreement for using their API to connect to that interface. I would think that would be in there. I mean, I have no confirmation on that, but I know other interfaces do that. in the DeFi ecosystem, like 1inch does that, for example, and some other ones. So we have to see from Flair Finance, and that would be where the whole KYC thing would take place, would be in there too.
Cool. Additionally, I know you wanted to kind of hit on F assets and Y assets, which I talked about a little bit in the earlier that we just came out with about an hour ago, but Mickey, just want to let you kind of get into that.
Yeah, so definitely check out Patty's video he just made to cover some of the wrapped assets that are coming over to Flair Finance, like Pack Protocol, Casino Coin, and XDC. And the difference we're going to cover here is between what are F assets, are really the difference. Now, F assets are the ones that are brought over by the Flair network. So they come over truly trustless, and they can be done in a true non-custodial wallet, and you could just mint FXRP. You don't need anybody's permission. You don't need to KYC. You don't need to AML. You're just allowed to bring those over in a fully trustless way, and you do pay a variable percentage rate to bring those over in the native asset, and then they come over as an F asset, and you can redeem whenever you like for the native asset if you want. And the F assets also come with inbuilt yield, so you will earn daily spark just for having F assets on the Flair network. So the Y assets won't have any of those things. They're semi-trusted because they're wrapping it on, say, whatever the native network is, and then bringing it over to Flair Finance ecosystem as a Y asset. And now that doesn't come with yield, but it will allow it to be used in some of the DeFi protocols and the liquidity pools there and Flair loans. So it does open up the utility of many of these assets that don't have that utility yet. Like Pack Protocol, Casino Coin, and XDC don't have the availability in any of these DeFi type products that Flair Finance is building anywhere else. So I think that will add a lot of utility, and I think it will add value. I mean, that's still speculative, but I think it will add value. We have a lot of people in the community, even the XRP community, that hold Pack, that hold Casino Coin, and that hold XDC, and they don't really have much that they could do with it. So now you have something you could actually do with it and use to your benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the last point you made is, these are definitely like XRP community coins, I feel like, or at least a lot of people that I know that are into XRP are, into Casino Coin, XDC, or PAC. And they each kind of bring different things to the game. So I think it's definitely them trying to the Flair Finance team knows that there's a lot of, XRP holders are going to be the majority of Spark holders in the beginning just by nature of the airdrop. So why not try and get some of their other assets to move over to Flair Finance by offering this ability? And then it looked like, I want to say, all of them were pledging some like X amount of each of those tokens to the APY cloud in order to be distributed through that, which has a rebranding, and I think it's Kakibo, right, Mickey? Is that what it is you found?
Yeah, I think it's Kakibo is what they
Yeah.
say on their recent tweet. So that's the APY cloud, which is basically like an automated monetary system for the Flair Finance ecosystem, where it redistributes some of the earnings of the platform out, and it works with the governance staking pool. So once you earn like YFin or you have Y Flair, you're able to stake it in this governance staking pool, which I guess you could consider like a one-sided governance staking pool, because you just put your asset in and you earn yield. Now that's only for YFin and I believe Y Flair. It's not going to be for the other assets at this time. That's the information that's out there on that. And it's going to be a minimum of 5 to 35% yield with that.
Yeah, I think that's the nice part. Is it granted it's a wide range, 5 to 35% where you're going to be, where your yield may end up at the end of the year. But it does give you like some semblance of like, okay, like it's fixed within this range at least, where a lot of DeFi products don't have any kind of like fixed endpoints where your yield may fall into. So I think that's kind of, pretty nice thing about the governance staking pool.
Well, I think it's going to help support the value of YFin and Y Flair in the long term on the Flair Finance platform. I think it really will help it because it gives storage demand to the asset. So there's utilization of the asset, and then there's storage demand of the asset, and you kind of need both. And they need to be in kind of this harmonic balance to each other to really drive value. You can't have too much storage demand, which kind of Bitcoin has, and then has no utilization. And you can't have too much utilization without enough storage demand. And what the Kibo, or it used to be called, formerly known, the APY cloud, allows for that balance of the system to move. And that's why there's 40 million of the 110 million Y Flair starts in the reserve pool of the APY cloud to be distributed out to balance that. So the utilization, if it gets too high, then it pulls more on the storage demand. If too much storage demand, it pushes out more utilization. So I think that's important going forward. And it could be, and it does that basically by different conditions are met. So if this condition's met, it does this. In this condition, it meets this one. So it is a complicated system, but just understand that it balances out the utilization and the storage demand of the two native Y assets, Y Flair and Y Fin.
Cool. Well, I see a couple questions I want to bring up in the chat, Mickey. So one's coming from Tim, and he's asking, will Flair Finance allow you to earn that underlying asset itself through like the Flair Finance ecosystem? And Tim, you won't be able to earn the underlying assets as far as I've been able to tell, but you will be able to earn F assets in different ways. One of those is through the governance staking pool, since it's drawing from all the fees paid within the different protocols on Flare Finance. Then that allows you to get paid out in a wide variety of assets. So it could be like Y Flare, Y Fin, F assets, Spark. You could get paid out in some of these wrapped assets, all through the governance staking pool. So that would be one way to earn. Also with Flare Mine, you're able to, mine like Litecoin or Bitcoin and have it automatically swapped into an F asset of your choosing. So that's another cool way to earn the F assets. But I don't think anybody's going to be earning like the underlying like XRP or Litecoin or something like that through Flare Finance.
Yeah, no, there's no way to earn. I doubtful it's the true underlying native asset. You'll just earn the F asset version of it, which is what it is on Flair. So once you earn that, that comes then with the same daily yield as all the other F assets, just like if you minted it yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And then the other one I saw, which I don't think we can give a full answer to this, but I do like the question from Dan P. And he said, if you had to speculate, what sort of percentage of your assets would you be looking to dedicate to probity versus Flare Finance? So like kind of splitting up between the two. How would you go about? I think how would you go about like looking at that at this point? It's a
Well, I
good way to put
think
it.
it depends on every user. I think everyone's gonna have a different situation, and I don't think you have to choose necessarily one or the other. I think you could break it up between different percentages of your portfolio. Like if you bring FXRP over, right? You have an option. It's a little more less risk to put in the probity vault, but at the same time, you have to manage collateral then. And then you could either borrow RA against that or lend against it to earn yield. Where with the liquidity pools, for example, on Flare Finance, you would be putting assets in there to earn a set fees of the swapping that's going on between those two assets. And you would also then receive the LP token, which allows you then to liquidity mine Y Fin in the Flare farm. But with that, you don't get the capital appreciation if the underlying F asset goes up in value, but you do if it's in a probity vault. So I think there's just different reasons to use different protocols within these apps. I would definitely, personally, what I'm going to do is I'll be using multiple, but I won't be just going all in on one. So I would be taking a percentage of my portfolio, which would go here to the probity vault, a percentage that would go to the Flare X liquidity pools, and go from there. So I think it depends on the person and what their risk tolerance is to decide on that. And it also depends, I think, specifically when we're talking about FXRP here, is where the case is. Now, if the case settles, obviously it's going to have a higher value afterwards. And you would have to, if it doesn't settle, then you got to concern yourself with, well, as soon as it does settle, the price is going to probably shoot up. So I think that's something that has to be taken into consideration on your decision on how to use like FXRP specifically. So if
Yeah.
it's on Flair network, just as FXRP, it's a 1-to-1. So it doesn't matter if the price goes up, down, whatever. It's the same on FXRP as it is XRP. You always could go back 1-to-1 in a
Well,
trustless manner.
yeah. Uh, Definitely good insight there, Mickey. And I guess I'll just add my opinion here. So, one of the things I still want to see in regards to Trustline is exactly what they're going to do with the Trustline credit network token. And if there's going to be maybe more of an opportunity than we thought for it to increase in value. And then also, what kind of other incentives do I have for having the TCN token? So we've kind of seen they're going to have liquidity pools now on Trustline for swapping the stable coins. So that's a cool thing that you could be part of a liquidity pool there and not suffer impermanent loss. I think that's an interesting thing, and would be pretty low risk other than trusting the smart contracts, and then maybe slight basis points going off on the stable coins themselves from like the $1 peg. So I kind of want to see more with what's going on there. For me, at least in the beginning, with Flair Finance having YFIN, pretty much the entire supply being distributed to people participating on that network or on their ecosystem, it makes me want to go more in on Flair Finance in the beginning than Trustline, unless they kind of add things that are going to be providing me with more yield. So we'll have to see how that goes and how it develops. But like I have more of a risk on approach in the beginning, just seeing like how high the yields are, and then as the yields start to drop off over time. So this is one thing to reiterate that we've talked about: the YFIN that's being distributed through the Flair Finance platform. That is going to have 50% of the total YFIN amount that's going to be distributed over the course of 2 years will be distributed in the first 6 months. So you can see the yield's going to go down significantly after the first six months of the Flair Finance launch. So for me, it's like whatever risk I'm taking is going to be the same amount of risk more than likely in the future. But if the yield's lower, then it changes how, if I'm willing to take that risk as much anymore. So Flair Finance, just with the opportunity for a lot of price appreciation in the long term, not saying like it's not guaranteed to happen, but it's going to depend on, how much value the network sees comes onto it. But I'm willing to take that chance early on and try and really use a lot of these products from Flair Finance.
Mm-hmm. So yes, so to add to that, 11 out of the 11,000 total supply of YFIN, 4,000 of it is going to be distributed in the first year through the Flair farm. So that means really the only way you're going to be able to obtain YFIN from the Flair farm is by participating in the liquidity pools. And to do that, that means you got to put in liquidity to two sides. So partially to YUSD and the other asset, and then to get your LP token and bring it over to Flair farm. So that's something I think people are going to be a little hesitant to do because they're not used to, which means it's going to be a huge opportunity for those who do. I'm not saying that you got to take, this is not financial advice, it's not tax advice, it's no type of advice. I'm just telling you what I think I'm going to do. I would take a small percentage and I would participate in liquidity pools. I don't want to get too caught up. And there's a lot of like talk about, oh, XRP is going to fly overnight and, oh, XRP is going to be taken away from you and all these other things that are just distractions from what's really going to be the case here. And after the case settles, there's no shooting on price overnight type thing that I'm worried about. It will take over a long time period. But there's going to be opportunities to earn fees and to earn YFIN. And if YFIN is only going to have 11,000 supply, and then after people liquidity mine it, they're going to put it right in a governance staking pool. So that means there's very little supply to be traded on a secondary market or even in the liquidity pools. So it's going to keep the price really high over a long time.
Cool. Yeah, and then one of the other things to consider with entering into liquidity pools, like we're saying, is the timing. So generally, after like a really big pump where you are expecting a downturn and you don't plan on liquidating any of those assets that are in the liquidity pool during that downturn, that would be the best time to enter the liquidity pool because while let's say you enter it and XRP is at $10, and then it falls all the way back to $3. Well, you've suffered some impermanent loss on the way down if you exit. But the thing is, if you stay in at $3 and you expect XRP to still reach back up to where it hit that high at 10, when it gets there, you could exit the pool with very minimal impermanent loss. And you would also have collected all those fees the entire time, plus all the YFIN that you earn from the liquidity pool tokens you can stake in Flair Farm. So that's definitely a big consideration, and appreciate that, JK, for you throwing it in there. Um, and here, let's go to this next one. Property Rich said, Mickey, I would love to buy Spark at launch at 1 cent so I can buy 100K worth. Do you think I will be lucky, or do you think Spark will start above $1?
I think we'll be somewhere in between there. I don't think we're going to be at 1 cent, but I don't
Well,
think we're going
sorry,
to be at
10
$1.
cents. I may have said that wrong.
I mean, that's really low, but I don't really know what the price is going to be. It's so hard to tell. You're going to have your people who get this and they're just going to dump it. So there's going to be that, but at some point that's just going to just end. And then people are going to realize, wait, this asset comes with inbuilt yield. So I don't know, just speculating here. I don't think we're going to get to 1 cent. I think that's just way too low. We're going to be at roughly around a circulating supply of 6 to 8 billion, with about 3 billion of that being with the Flair team, Flair Limited. And that puts the circulating supply like really 4 to 5 billion, which is still really low. So I don't know about 1 cent, Patty. Maybe you could throw your thoughts out there on this, but I think that's a little too low. I mean, I would love for that to happen. Don't get me wrong, because I would be right there with you buying. But I don't know about that. That might be too much wishful thinking. I would take 20 cents. I mean, honestly, 25 cents.
I think we'll definitely see 20 or 25 cents.
What about 1 cent?
I don't know about one. I would say 10 cents would probably be where I'm looking at the bottom of any kind of sell off. Reason being is this market has cooled off tremendously. So I don't think there's as much appetite for buying into new projects as soon as they launch as there was, nor is there the same appetite for holding them to get like short-term price appreciation. So I just think we'll see a lot of people selling and taking the money they can get and, going on their merry way. And then obviously less money in the market in general means there's less places for it to flow from at this point. So I definitely I could see 10 cents for sure. One thing I'm waiting on to like come up with my final opinion at least is what the total amount of Spark claimed was. And then I'll be able to kind of figure out more exactly what I think. But
yes, but one thing that the market's going to eventually realize, and they're not going to in the beginning, and people are going to dump just stupidly because they don't know and they haven't been paying attention. The asset comes with inbuilt yield natively at no risk. So you can't say that about any of the other top 20 assets. None of them. You can't hold the asset, have possession of it, and earn yield. You just can't. And then be able to simultaneously use it somewhere else if you like. That doesn't exist with any of the other top assets, not Cardano, not ADA, because you can't use it somewhere else. So this is a unique feature to the asset. It comes with this utility, and its utility is decentralized Oracle system. So you're delegating your vote to participate in that Oracle system to help it be more decentralized, and you earn a reward for that. So 28 million Spark are being generated every day, regardless of who participates and who doesn't. Those who do participate will have a chance to earn some of that 28 million yield, depending on the signal provider's accuracy. And you'll be able to delegate to up to 3 different signal providers from each Flair account.
Cool. Looking through here to see any more questions. So cool. Yeah, just mainly people talk. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so Soul 4RL, I do want to address this like comment question. He's saying, so basically wait to mint your F assets based on the underlying XRP shooting up. So I think you're confusing a little bit. Liquidity pools are different than minting. So what we were describing about waiting for, you could wait as a strategy for the price to shoot up and then enter a liquidity pool. That's a different thing. So when you're minting F assets, the only thing that matters is what your creation fee you're paying. So obviously, like if XRP is, worth more money at the time of you minting, then you're going to pay more US dollar value to mint because the fee is a percentage of the total that you're minting. It doesn't necessarily matter other than that. Like, I guess minting your XRP on the Flair network would be better when the price is down because you'd be paying less USD value for that. But once it's
So
on,
1-to-1
yeah. So it's like
doesn't matter.
if you're paying a 5% fee on a $1 XRP versus a $10 XRP, you can see where the difference is.
Hmm.
But to me, it's like I don't think it like if XRP was $10, I would still mint the same amount I was going to mint regardless. So to me, it doesn't affect it as much because I think the yield earning opportunities in the beginning are more than enough to cover that shortfall that you're paying right out the get go.
Yes, and just so everyone knows, the minting of F assets won't begin to at least 6 or 8 weeks till after the Flair network is live. So that won't begin at launch. So say the launch is at the end of July here. So it's 2 to 4 weeks from the end of July. So we have to the end of July in that time period to when it could launch, according to Flair Limited team. So then 6 to 8 weeks from there. So now we're looking at August, end of September. So I think that gives us a longer period. That's 3 months now from today to where the F assets will then be able to be minted. So the case could settle in 3 months. I think that gives us an extended period of time. But minting FXRP doesn't make you lose out on any capital appreciation. You'll still get the full capital appreciation of XRP for the most part, besides like what Patty said, that small creation fee. Besides that, if XRP goes up, you have FXRP or you have XRP, it's going to be the same price. So there's no difference there. It's a 1-to-1 peg.
Yep, exactly. There's like a small basis risk in like, maybe the price being off by like fractions of a penny, but it shouldn't be anything that's huge.
I think
I'm
it'll be
all,
more of a premium to
yeah, that's
FXRP, if anything.
yeah. So I mean, like we're gonna have arbitrage between what the FTSO output is and what other exchanges are listing, the XRP price at. So like think about it during a time period. I feel like I brought this up before, but basically like last November or so when the Coinbase and like Binance price were off by like 15 cents. Well, like that's going to have an effect on what the FTSO outputs. So like there could be some arbitrage in like the short period of time after the output based on like some exchanges just having way different prices. But it's going to be like in general an aggregated version of all like wherever the majority of the pricing is coming from, which is decided by the signal providers. So that's like why you want many different signal providers because they're all using different methodologies to pull what they think is the most accurate price of XRP at any given time. And then they're putting all those together and it's getting, they're taking the median like weighted average of the median 50% of all that. So I think it's like a very important thing to point out that there's a lot of different ways to determine what the price is when we have so much like, I guess all the exchanges are separate from each other, and that's where a lot of the trading goes on. So yeah, I just want to bring that up.
Yep. And then we'll have things like Flair X's liquidity pool where you could be able to trade from YUSD right to FXRP. So that will allow you won't need to go to the exchanges to swap really between assets on Flair. Like if you wanted to go to Spark or you want to go to FLTC or you want to go to Casino Coin, or you wanted to go to any of the other 10 probably plus assets that will be on Flair network at launch, you'll be able to just swap between them in the Flair X pool. So you're not going to need to go back really to the exchange to go to a stable coin. You could just go to YUSD or go to RA or go to any of these other stable coins or assets that are on a Flair network. So it's going to be less using of the exchanges. So we need to get away slowly from that habit. And we have the XRP Ledger's DEX, which is really starting to get ramped up now. Like the Zum wallet, you're able to trade. We're going to see more of that with the side chain. So less and less focus on these exchanges, which don't use blockchain. They do nothing to help the market. They're completely siloed, walled garden legacy technology. All right. And now we're seeing more on-chain or on-ledger technology that actually utilizes blockchain, utilizes smart contracts, and is built on the next generation of technologies, where these exchanges, they're just, all you're doing is trading in Coinbase's database. That's it. It's completely siloed. It's not advanced technology. It's actually legacy technology that goes back to the 1990s. So just so everyone knows that we're moving away from the exchange model. They'll still exist, but we're going to see less and less focus on that and more focus on-chain and on-ledger applications and trading.
Cool. And then I see from Militant Roots, so he's asking, what can you do with Spark right after the airdrop? So delegate your Spark vote to the FTSO through whichever wallet's allowing you to do that. So like Bifrost, Decent, MetaMask, those are good options. Or if an exchange is going to let you to do that, I just haven't seen anything in that regard. And then also you'll be able to utilize Spark in some liquidity pools on Flair Finance. So once that gets up and going, and then when Trustline gets up, you'll be able to use it as collateral over there. So it's just kind of be like a staged release of some of these products, but the delegating of the Spark detachable vote is the main thing on day one. And then
that's the biggest utility.
Yeah.
I think on day one, it comes with native utility. So you're earning that, but you're also participating to help the FTSO system become more decentralized, so that in 6 to 8 weeks, when the F asset system goes live, that FTSO, you need those price feeds as decentralized and as accurate as possible. So the more people who participate, it's the more decentralized it gets, but it's also 28 million Spark to be distributed every day between who participates. And there's going to be the lowest participation rate in the early few days, and then it will just, increase from there. So you'll have the biggest opportunity to earn in the beginning.
Yeah. And then I see another good question, because I don't know how much we touched on it when we were talking about the Y assets, but Silverback Gorilla says, can you earn with Y assets? And the answer is definitely yes. YFLR and YFIN, which is the governance tokens of the Flair Finance platform, have the most opportunity to earn yield, because those are tokens that Flair Finance is issuing via their decentralized application. But the other Y assets, which is going to be like Casino Coin, XDC, PAC, Ethereum's going to be a Y asset, Luna, BNB, there's going to be a lot of them. There'll be stable coins like YUSDT or YUSDC, or the Terra stable coin as well. You'll be able to use all those. You can use them in the different protocols on Flair Finance. So you're going to have a lot of different opportunities to earn with those. If wherever you hold those assets, you can't earn with them right now, you could certainly bridge them over to the Flair network or Flair Finance ecosystem with Flair Wrap, and you could use it as collateral in like the Flair Loans platform, or you could use it in a liquidity pool, to earn fees from providing liquidity. It's just that the opportunities for yield are going to be higher with the F assets, and then Y Flair, Y Fin, and also Spark. So the Y assets, I mean, I don't want to call them this, but they kind of seem like secondary assets to me, just because like a lot of their value is coming from this other protocol, and it's not like inbuilt into the Flair network. But Mickey, I'll let you add on to that.
Yeah, I mean, secondary assets, I mean, that does fit. But we don't want to degrade them.
No, that's what I didn't want to do.
They still have really good utility, and they have the ability to earn yield. Just that the priority is that the F assets are able to earn more. That's all. To put it in that way, because those are the ones that will come over trustlessly and that will have an inbuilt yield. So all XRP, all F assets will come with daily Spark rewards that you'll get just for having F assets on the platform. Where just the Y assets don't have that. That doesn't mean they're not usable. They're just a different usability. And this is why I think we have a lot of flexibility here and a lot of options. So you don't have to just do all one thing. You could break yourself up and say, I just want to take 5% of my portfolio and I'm going to do it with this. And I want to take 3% of my portfolio and I'm going to do it with that. And I want to take 10% and do it with this. And I want to take 40% and do it with that. So you got to decide what's best for you. So if you're a holder of one of those assets that are going to be Y, so say Casino Coin or PAC, you could then turn around and you put that to work. So instead of just sitting it in your wallet, now you just wrap it and you put it there, and you could use it in different strategies on the Flair on Flair Finance.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something I'm definitely looking to do, is like spread out my allocations of these assets throughout the network. Cause, it's not a perfect science knowing where the most yield is going to come from. And it's like, if you hold it, an asset that could be wrapped onto Flare Finance, when I say secondary, I just mean that there's not as many opportunities for the yield that the F assets and the Spark token, as well as Y Flare and Y Fin, will be able to earn. But also you still have, the price appreciation that comes with that asset if you believe in it, and there will be different ways to earn yield. So I just pulled up on the screen, if y'all had seen me scrolling, some of the coins that will be available. Basically all the F assets, Spark, and then they had Algo and Cardano listed, but that's if they pass the main network governance votes to get on. And then you'll have like Ethereum, Telcoin, Celsius, the Gala token, which is actually going to end up being issued directly onto the Flare network. So it won't be through the Flare wrap process. So that'll be cool, seeing like, a token that's actually issued and living on the Flare network, like natively, outside of the Spark token and the Flare Finance ones. But also you have the Shiba Inu token, Sandshoe, Tether, USDC, BNB, Pancake Swap, XDC Pack, and Casino Coin. So I mean, there's like what,
Nice lineup.
20 or so
20.
assets at this point, yeah, that are going to be available to be used, and you could earn yield possibly in a variety of these different assets. So
Yeah, think of that's all opportunity that wasn't available currently before the Flair network, and now we're bringing all this utility and all this storage demand to these assets that they didn't have that for XRP holders. Many of them, like Casino Coin and Pack, that people held, but they didn't have much they could do with it. Now you have actually utility for these assets, and that's what really Flair network is opening up. It's unlocking value. We're at the heart here. It's unlocking this value to be utilized, and that's what the basis for the Flair network being built is unlocking value that's just trapped in the market.
yeah. And then, okay, I see a good question here from John. He was saying, can we go straight to the Flare network with Fiat, or do we have to go through an exchange first? I think you're going to need to get some kind of asset that's on the Flare network. Is probably going to be the easiest way. I
Yeah,
don't
the only
know.
one is
Yeah.
Trustline. Eventually though, John, Trustline is going to have their mobile app, which will have a Fiat on-ramp, similar to how Coinbase.com has a Fiat on-ramp. Eventually, Trustline will allow for that Fiat on-ramp, but initially at launch, there's going to be no other way to get Fiat directly on to the Flare network. But in the future, yes. So I think that could answer that question. There might be others after, Trustline, but we know Trustline is building that to allow for their mobile app, which will be, linked to your bank account and connect to maybe your PayPal and other things. And then you could bring Fiat directly on that way. But at launch, I don't believe that will be possible. You'll have to go through an exchange to get Spark or one of the other assets and then just bring them over.
Yeah.
Or you could swap between assets you have already on the Flair network through the Flair X liquidity pools.
Cool. Well, we're about 45 minutes in, Mickey. I
Yeah,
don't know
let's
if
wrap it up.
yeah, I want to say, just on smart contracts, I believe you told me you wanted to bring something up in regards to those. Like, I guess we saw like
Oh
the whole,
yeah, I got it.
yeah, cool.
So just so everyone knows, like the native asset, the native Ether token and like the native Spark token don't have native smart contract capabilities. So if you need to use ETH in like Uniswap or in MakerDAO, you have to wrap it to wrapped ETH. And the same is going to go for Spark. You need to wrap it to wrapped Spark. And that's a very simple function that will be made in your Bifrost wallet or your Decent or your MetaMask. You just wrap it to WFLR and then you delegate its votes. So that is something that everyone just needs to keep in mind. The native asset of the network doesn't have smart contract capabilities built in. Ether doesn't, Spark doesn't. So it just has to be wrapped to be used in a smart contract, where all the other tokens are technically ERC20 standards. So they have the smart contract capabilities built in because they're basically a smart contract to begin with, where the native assets aren't of the network. So I just want to clarify that so everyone understands. And I know some people who are new, who come from XRP, are like, what do you mean Spark doesn't have smart contracts? It's like, well, neither does Ether natively. That's why it has to be wrapped to go into any of the real decentralized applications on Ethereum.
Yeah, and Mickey, basically like all these tokens that are going to be on the Flare network are basically smart contract representations of
Yes.
those
Yeah.
assets. So it's just something to
Mhm.
get kind of used to how it works within like, a system using the Ethereum virtual machine. But like, when you bring over, let's say you bring over YUSDT, well, that's like a smart contract on the Flare network that's representing USDT. So just a different way.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like a weird technical thing about it,
Mhm.
but I guess
Tim
that's what
Rowley.
happens when we get deep on this stuff.
Yep, exactly. So Tim Rowley with ftso.au, he did some good videos of showing like what it looks like to wrap FLR to WFLR.
hmm
So you could check out his website. He has some tutorials that he showed of just wrapping it and how easy it really is. It's going to be done just basically from your Web3 multi-chain wallet, either Decent or Bifrost or MetaMask. Those are the three so far that are going to be available to choose from. And they're all free on downloads for the software side. Decent, you got to purchase the hardware. And if you wanted a nano ledger, you could make that work with a MetaMask. But all the software sides are free. So you could download multiple. So you could have more than one wallet if you like.
Yeah, and I also saw Jeannie from our Patreon group was saying that she was talking to Matt Rosenden from Trustline and Probity Vault, and he thinks that they'll be able to just automatically wrap Spark on their end.
Woo.
So like if you want to just send Spark there, it'll get wrapped if it needs to be.
Wow.
So and also Hugo did say, I think in that Telegram proposals group me the Flare Network has, but that a lot of this can probably happen on the back end where we don't
Oh,
actually
nice.
have to deal with it. It just kind of like, oh, if you're trying to use it in this way, it needs to be wrapped, so the whatever
Mhm.
interface you're using will just do that function for you or call it.
Yes.
um,
So one component I left out there, just I did leave out that was big, was that the gas fees have to be paid in the native form. So they have to be paid
yes.
in like FLR or like Ethereum. On the Ethereum network, the gas fees are paid in ETH. So that you always would need some of that. But like Hugo's saying here, a lot of this stuff will probably be abstracted to make it very user functionality really easy for everybody. And the wallets, as they get better, remember, this is just the early days of DeFi, blockchains in general, and smart contract platforms. This is the very early days. It's very nascent, and things will not always be the same. It's going to be a constantly upgradable and evolving enhancements every month and years over and over again. So in 2 3 years, you might look back and be like, wow, that's how things were. Wow, that was so, archaic. And now it's like, wow, it's so advanced and so easy. So I think with the merging of CeFi and DeFi and all these different smart contract platforms and interoperability, it's going to be so much easier in the future. But in the beginning, it is a little clunky and certain things. But that's what you get for paying for being an early pioneer, because we're still very, very early.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's a good part to wrap up at. So
Agreed.
thanks for tuning in, guys. This is the DeFi Standard, and I'm Patty XRP,
And I'm Mickey B. Fresh.
and we're out. See you guys.